This video demonstrates default parameters in functions. And what we have is a program on the right where we want to get a phrase, then output the original phrase, an exciting version of the phrase, which is just concatenating 3 exclamation marks, and then a capitalized but not exciting version of the phrase. So let's take a look at how the program works so far. Oh, here we are. So let's say test this out. So the original version is just test this out. That's fine. The exciting version will need to add 3 exclamation, and the capitalized but not exciting will need to capitalize just the T in test. Okay, so let's take a look at what the code is. There are 2 functions in use. Here are the prototypes. One function gets the phrase. The other function outputs the phrase. We can take a look at those definitions down below. GetPhrase is simply prompting the user to enter a phrase, then uses getLine to get the phrase, and stores the phrase in a string variable, and then the function returns that string variable. Outputting the phrase is also fairly straightforward. The function takes one parameter, which is a string, and then outputs the string. Alright, inside of main, we have a variable phrase, and we assign the value of getPhrase. The function getPhrase's return value will be assigned to the variable phrs, or phrase. Then we have an output statement saying the original phrase, and that is shown in the output here, and then we output the phrase. Then we have the exciting phrase output inside of main, and then we once again call the function output phrase, and finally we have another output that's saying cap but not exciting, and we output the phrase. Now there's 2 fix-me's. The first one is for the exciting version of the phrase, which we'll work on first. The second one we'll be working on is capitalized but not exciting version. And all we'll be doing is modifying this one function output phrase to add in the behaviors of an exciting version of this. So how do we do that? What we need to do is create another parameter for this function, the output phrase function. And we're going to make that parameter a bool. It's going to be make exciting. And we're going to default this to false. And we'll copy that parameter from the prototype, and we're going to paste it inside of the definition. So we just copied from the prototype function and pasted it inside of the definition. Let's see if we're doing okay so far. So we have an error, and the default argument given for parameter 2 after previous specification. So we only need to specify the default value once. So I'm going to specify the default value in the definition, not in the declaration. Let's recompile. We have many more errors here. There's too few arguments in the function at line 7 at line 20. So it's too few. That's right, because the prototype is expecting to have 2 parameters, but our definition has 1 required parameter and 1 optional parameter. So we actually need to have the function prototype be the point in which we assign the default value of false. Let's compile again. No errors this time. We'll test this out. Okay, so the runtime hasn't changed, which is right. But we've added in this new parameter, make exciting. So if they wish to make this exciting, if we want to make this exciting, then we should have a different behavior. The default behavior is when make exciting is false, and that is just to output the phrase. Let's test if make exciting. Let's try this out. So the Boolean value, make exciting, is by default false, and we know that because in the prototype, the declaration, we assign the value false. But that's only by default. If the function is passed in a true value for make exciting, then the make exciting will not be false, and it will be true instead. Right now we're not passing in any value, so let's just take a look at how the program runs. What we'd expect right now, since we're not passing any value, make exciting is by default false, as per the declaration, and when make exciting is false, we'll just output the original phrase. If it were to be true, we'd output make exciting. We'll test this out. And here we've outputted test this out, which is the original phrase, so we did not make this exciting. We'll go to the function call where we want to make this exciting, and we're going to send in the value true. Now let's test what happens. We'll test this out. Here we are. For the exciting phrase, we're now outputting make exciting. Okay, that's a good start. So what we really want to be doing is outputting the phrase plus 3 exclamation marks. Let's compile and run the program. And our exciting phrase now has 3 exclamation marks. Now what if we were to pass in the value false? What would happen? Let's take a quick look. The exciting phrase goes back to the original phrase. So I'm going to set that back to true, and we have handled this fix me. Now we're ready for the next fix me, which is capitalized but not exciting. Alright, so if we want to set this phrase to be capitalized, the first letter to be capitalized, we need to have a new parameter. And we'll call that parameter, we'll make it a flag, we'll make it a bool, is cap. No, we'll call it should cap. So as in should capitalize. And by default we'll say no. By default you should not capitalize. I'm also going to copy the new parameter, which is a bool named should cap, and I'm going to add that to the parameters list of our declaration of the output phrase function. So now we have a new parameter, should cap. Now let's test to see how this program's working. Did we break anything? It's always a good question to ask yourself. The program compiles fine, and when we test this out, we have the same output as before. So we haven't broken anything, we haven't changed anything either. But we have added this variable should cap. So it's by default false. But if they pass in true, then we want to capitalize the first letter of the phrase. So how do we do that? What I'm going to do is store the first letter of the phrase. We'll call it first letter. And we're going to store that in that character. So first letter is, I'm going to get the first letter of the phrase is at 0. To test that I'm correctly outputting, correctly collecting the first letter, let's output the first letter. And this output will only happen if should cap is true. So let's run the program, no compilation errors, and test this out. Alright, the output is the same, nothing has changed, and that's because our default value for should cap is false. So we need to make that default value true. So for the area of our code where we should be capitalizing, I'm going to add a true to the parameter as a parameter to the function call output phrase. Let's compile and run again. And what we have is an exciting output. We have the 3 exclamation marks added to the end of the cap, but not exciting. So this should not be exciting. What's happening here? Well, the true we just passed in to output phrase is the true for make exciting. It is not should cap. So what we need to do is, in the place of where make exciting is getting the value, we need to put false. Let's test to see if we've done that correctly. And we have the cap but not exciting is no longer exciting, and then to capitalize we can add true as the third parameter. So the first parameter is the phrase, second parameter is make exciting, and the third parameter is should cap. Let's compile, execute. Here we have that additional line of output we put, and we have the first letter is T. That's good, T for test. But let's make sure it's actually the correct T, because there's actually 3 T's, 4 T's in fact, in test this out. So we'll say A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L. And the first letter is A. Okay, that's perfectly fine. So now that we've gotten the first letter, let's make that letter capitalized. How do we do that? We say the first letter is 2 upper. 2 upper is a function that takes in an integer and returns an integer, the capitalized version of that character. The 2 upper function comes from the library CC type. So you must include CC type in order to access the function 2 upper. Alright, now we'll output capitalized first letter. So we can see what that looks like. Alright, let's run that code. We'll test this out. So the first letter is T, capitalized version is T. That's excellent. Now we need to store the capitalized first letter back into the location of the first letter in the phrase. And that is phrase at 0 is the first letter. I'm going to erase these additional lines of code which we use for development, and now we're going to test this out. So we have the exciting version with 3 exclamation marks, and our capitalized but not exciting has a capital T. And now if we wanted to make something capitalized and true and exciting, we can just change the make exciting to true, and we could have both worlds. We can have exciting and capitalized, such as demonstrated there. And that is how you use default parameters. Thank you.